know what you think. If it is right to scold children in public.
I think it's very, very wrong because there's something called mental health. As a child, when correcting a child in public, the child might just look like okay. It might affect the child psychologically. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So I believe mental health should be considered here. So I believe it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Be done at home, not in public, because some children can't take it the right way, so it end up affecting them physically or anyhow, and they end up being scared to express themselves in public.
Okay, let me ask you this. You've been a babysitter to children.
Yeah, my nephews and niece.
Just give me an age range.
6, 4, and there's a baby.
Okay, let's say the one of 6 years old. You take him out with you and the person spills somebody's drink. How will you act?
It might be a mistake. Not every occurrence happens intentionally. So it might just be a mistake, and you accept and correct the child that be careful next time.
How will you correct the child? That's where we are going.
Speaking, not scolding. Like you can talk to a child and he'll actually listen to you, not scolding him.
But let me now take it this way. Yeah, there are sometimes that your hand moves faster than your brain. Before you think of what to say, you don't already give and slap now.
Okay. If it's that one, no, sometimes you cannot control yourself now. So you can't control yourself, sir. Sometimes, I don't know.
All right, thank you very much. So do you think it is right or wrong?
Situations can happen, so we can't say. But generally speaking, it shouldn't be done outside.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Scold them or raise a hand on them in public, because when you scold them physically, it affects them, and you might even miscode them. Like hitting a child on the head now, it might happen as accident, and child will just maybe faint or something will happen to the child, and you'll be the one to blame. But if you scold the child verbally, just at least 6-year-old children, 5-year-old children, they are old enough to know that okay, this is wrong. So when you tell them it is wrong, what you did is wrong, then they will know that yes, what they did is wrong, rather than scolding them or beating them physically.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your.
So it's right in a sense that once the atrocity is being committed by them, don't waste time, to correct them instantly.
Even in a public place?
Sure. If you keep that, once the right time he does anything wrong, make sure you correct him, so that he will know next time that if he does such thing, he will not be thinking of having a postponed punishment. Just punish him instantly, or talk to him, or scold him instantly, so that he will know next time he will not. It's even better in the public, so that he himself will feel guilty when others, people are looking at, the punishment they receive instantly.
Okay, do you have children?
Yeah, I've got 2. I have 2.
How do you scold them in a public place? This same method?
No, there's some things I just talk to them. And at times if I promise them things before, maybe 2 of them, I'll just, the one that got me annoyed or got me angry that time, I will just tell him, see, you so person, like my son now, he's more or less, some people are saying he took after me, but he's somehow a bit playful, and so I will just let him know what I promised 2 of you, you are not going to be a partaker of it. So I will only do it for your sister. So I think with that one, it gets sober at that time and behave well.
That's a good one. Thank you very much for having us.
Pleasure.
No.
Can you give us reasons?
The child can be embarrassed outside. He can be ashamed of his parents, because he knows if he does something embarrassing outside, his parents will scold him and he'll be embarrassed, especially when he's amongst his peers.
Okay, I want to ask, how does your parents discipline you when you go wrong?
When I go wrong, they just give me eyes, like, so I know when I'm wrong. But when I get home, they scold me for it.
And do you think that's the perfect way to go about it?
Yes.
So can you tell us an advice to parents who, there are some, they will give them one hot slap in public, or they just insult, they abuse them, they drag their ears. Just give an advice to those parents that do that to their children.
They should stop doing it.
And what should they do instead?
they should just make them know what they did is wrong, and if they get home they could scold them later.
All right, thank you.
It's not right.
Because
The children or the child itself, they do have feelings, and to me it's a kind of embarrassment to them, and so they should be respected also. They are people. If you get inside, you can scold them. Well,
so okay, the appropriate way is to scold them when you are in the house.
yes, not to embarrass them or scold them extensively outside, but to me it's better you scold them at home.
All right. Growing up, how were you scolded? How were you disciplined?
How was I disciplined? I was disciplined in the right way.
With the right way. What if you do something outside? Do your parents spank you, drag your ears, or all of that in public?
Yes, at that time, you know, we're at my generation. Well, my generation, the discipline, where the discipline was then, was a bit different, because, you know, just by looking at my parents, I already know I'm doing something wrong already. Yes. So just the eye contact, we know we're doing something wrong. So it's a bit different, you know, from the generation of today. They discipline us publicly sometimes when they have to.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
In the public, you see, they may not even feel the impact. They feel they are being disgraced, especially children of these days. But if it were to be our own time, we'll take it as a lesson. Then, you know, at times you need to tell them immediately. So it depends on how the situation or the offense they have committed, or the kind of misdemeanor.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
What do they use? Yes, strokes for folks. There are some people that likes to just, with their temper at that time, they beat. Yes. And there are some people that, okay, they just wink their eyes and they pamper you. Then when they get home, you receive it.
Okay, so
for life. So it's different. Parents have their own different ways of treating their own children, except maybe if it's not your child, you can just beat like that on the road. But for me, I don't think it's advice to smack a child on the road, or maybe you went out with the child in the mall around and the child misbehaved. Definitely, you know the child is going to misbehave somehow. Children are children, but it's nice if you caution them at that point in time instead of beating them on the road or at the mall or in an event, because taking a child out is an experience. The child wants to be loved, wants to have that care and attention that somebody's taking me out. My mom took me out today and I had a nice time. So even if the child has to do anything, just know that day is for the child. So no beating, no quarreling, no just treat the child nice. Then maybe when you get home you can say, baby, that thing you did in that supermarket, you know it's because the daddy was your day. If not, I would have beaten you. But now I want to caution you now. Don't do it again next time we go out. So I think that's the best way to handle a child.
I have one more question for you. Growing up, what measures did your parents use in disciplining you or scolding you in public?
Wow, growing up, okay, I would say that growing up then I had brothers, big brothers, that it's not even my mom or my dad that actually flog or beats me. It's my brothers that really do that. When we go out and if I misbehave, my sister will help me do the message when we get home. And when we get home, just know that don't just enter that house at that time. Just stay outside at that time. Once you hear your name like this, just know that there's trouble for you at that point in time. And maybe if there is any food that came during the events or during when we went out, just know that you are not eating it. When you get home, you just drop it. Somebody will help you eat it. Okay. You make sure you receive your strokes before you continue life again, you know. That's so.
All right. Did it affect any part of you? Like, did you withdraw from people, or did it make you do better?
I think then, seriously, it's really tough when brothers and cousins, you know, smack you or flog you most times we always think they are wicked, and we feel bad about it. But later on, when you just keep growing up, you now realize that these things are just normal, are something that you need to learn from. So then I was thinking, maybe it's painful. My brother hates me, my sister dislikes me, or they don't like me and they beat me a lot. But as I started growing up, I entered school. I started seeing that these small things that they scold me for are these things that actually will shaping your life, will affect you, even in class. When they say listen, when they say focus, you are really there to focus. If you're not there to focus in school, you will not focus. Yeah, that's true. So that's just mainly what they're after. Focus. Make sure you know what you are doing. And even that time, that's what they beat me about more. Try and focus. Do things right. When you are doing something, make sure you are doing it the right way. So that's just it.
Thank you very much for your time. This was a
Yes. I think it depends. It depends. It depends on the attitude of the child anyways, and it also depends on the level of scolding. You understand? It also depends on who is scolding the person or who is scolding the child. You understand? If it is the guardian or parents, then I feel if it is appropriate or important, the person feels that it is appropriate to scold this child, then it's fine, it's okay. But I feel there should be a balance anyways. There should be a balance. There has to be a balance.
Let me paint this picture to you. Okay. You take a child 3 years old and the person goes out, someone is eating and the child is crying for that thing. How do you correct the child? Do you take the child away or spank or buy for the child so he or she would not cry?
Okay, you don't have to spank. Children will always be children.
Yeah.
You can buy for the child. Yeah, you don't have to spank. You don't even have to shout. Just buy for the child so the child can be satisfied. Yeah, so I think that's
Thank you very much.
If it is correcting children in public, I don't think there's anything wrong in that. But beating or eating, that too, it depends on the age and it depends on what that child did. If it's need for you to scold, it might not be that much, just maybe to tap the hand of that child, and depends on the age of that child. There are some children that are just giving them an eye. Yeah. They will get what you're saying. But if it is a young child like the one I'm carrying and it is anything wrong in public, you can correct without even eating that child. So I don't think there's anything wrong in it. You just have to be patient with children. That's just it.
All right. What do you think is the appropriate measure, the correct way to discipline a child that misbehaves in a public space?
Like I said, it depends on what you do in the house. If you're a kind of mother that just giving your child, even as little as this boy is, sometimes when he wants to do anything and I give him an eye, he will get what I'm saying, just as little as he's just like 17 months old, but he will get it. So it depends on what you've been doing inside. And parents should not, base all their correction on beating. It's better like close your eyes, face the wall, raise your hand up instead of beating all the time. And if it's need for you to beat, I'm not saying you shouldn't, minimize it. And afterwards, draw that child to yourself and tell him or her, this is the reason why I did this.
You said something about beating. If you ask me, I will say beating is a strong word. Like, do you use a weapon or your hand or slippers or that tonigari or broom? You always say beat, like, it's strong.
Okay, when I said beating, I'm not saying you should use weapon. You should use even cane. You can use your hand. Like me, when I was growing up, I'm not fond of beating, even till now. Even my dad. When he wants to beat, he just tap you. Use his fingers to tap you this way on your head. And that's what I do to him too. I tap his hand. I'll tap his leg. Let's say he's in front of TV and I said, leave that place. Yeah. And he doesn't do that on time. I will tap his ear. Just little tapping. And if it's need for me to just beat his hand, I will just, with 2 fingers, I will eat his hand with it. But you now, maybe you're angry or somebody did something wrong to you before you enter the house, or maybe you have issue between your husband. You don't put it on your children. And at that time, maybe your child or anybody did something to you, you don't beat in such a way that you now wound your children or give them a mark. you don't do that. That is too much, even not only for children, because I don't really like the issue of beating. I don't like it, maybe because I don't grow up being beaten. I don't grow up in such environment. So when I see a thief being beaten, it makes me feel somehow. That is just the truth. It makes me feel somehow. So I just believe, why not hand him or her over to the right people? So when you talk about children, you don't beat all the time. You can give a little punishment, and at the end, still draw that child to yourself and let him or her know that, okay, this is why I'm doing this, and if I don't do it, you will know that what you have done is wrong. But not beating to the extent of giving them a wound, or beating so much using belts, using broom, using even cane. I don't believe in it, but you can give an appropriate punishment for that child to know, because it's not good not to correct at all.
Thank you very much. Like, you just schooled me now.
Thank you for the question. I think that's a very sensitive question. We're all psychological beings, whether we are adults or we are children. Okay, so the way we address people, the things we say to them can really affect their emotional or psychological well-being. So if a child does something wrong, right, in the public, I think the best way is to, rather than lashing out on them and scolding them, it can affect them, that they become withdrawn and sad. We can wisely or tactfully caution them. We can take them to a corner and then tell them, don't do this again. And then when we get home, then we can scold them properly. But like they say, charity begins from the house. So the way you train a child from the home, determine how the child will behave outside. So if you do not train a child properly at home, when they get outside, you're just doing yourself. The same thing they will do. So I would say, from the house, start training them properly, using emotional intelligence, right? And then you find out that the same thing you'll be able to do. It will be easy for you to control them when you're outside.
All right, thank you. So I'll rephrase the question. When you misbehave at home, or let me say you are outside, your dad take you somewhere, and you do something that he has told you, hey, don't do this thing. If he slaps you in public, how will you feel? Or if he shouts at you, hey, I've told you, don't do it, how will you feel? How does it make you feel?
Well, I'll feel bad, but at the same time, I know he's doing it for my own good too.
Okay, what do you think is the right approach in such scenario?
I feel he should just say, okay, I've warned you before, but please don't do it again in a calm manner.
No. There are some people that they think with their hands before they say, they have already given you like 2 slaps. So how will you react to that? Like, you just received slap that you didn't plan for?
Unexpected. I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
All right.
There is need for the deployment of harsh tones when you want to scold a child at all. And whenever you want to scold your child in public, you should be very careful, because it can turn out to become a dangerous thing for that child. Such child could lose prestige, self-confidence, and it could become something like, how do I put it now? There's this word, we call it complexity. Yeah, such child, I have something like that, an experience like that. I am a practical experience. I have been a subject of public scolding, and it's really affected my public relationship with individuals. Confidence.
So moving on, what do you think is the right approach to something like that? Do you wait till you get home and address the issue, or you just let it die there and then?
You don't sweep issues under the carpet. You get home, you scold the child in love. And nowadays, the problem we have in Africa, Nigeria particularly, is because it's this. We do not scold out of love. We scold out of anger. We are expected to scold out of love. When you scold out of love, that child understands more. But when you scold out of anger, such child thinks you are passing aggression, and that child won't learn nothing. That's my idea of it.
Thank you very much. Good to have you.
If we are judging from those days, right? When we were like about 5 or 4 or something, my dad used to beat me a lot. Whole lot, and he does this thing like he punches us under beneath his thighs, and it tends to beat us very well. And now something about that thing is this, like it actually bend us to becoming better people, even up till now. We come to Lagos and we tend to live alone in Lagos, and sometimes most of the things that we see these days in Lagos, like some crazy things, like we tend not to do them because of the kind of way that our parents tend to like handle us those days. So we have this feeling like, okay, maybe they're still close to us or something, even though they are not. So it's as a result of the way they actually treated us those days. Sometimes it's kind of bad, even up to now it's kind of bad. Okay, like because you don't have to keep doing that up until this 21st century. You don't have to keep doing that, but it actually helped us those days to becoming who we are today. Discipline people, right?
Yeah, you said something like your father beats, and when I hear something like that, it sounds strong. Beats, when I see belts, shoe, stick, and all of that, did it damage you in any way? Like, did it have effect on your self-esteem?
Okay, when you talk about self-esteem, like my dad beating me up that way with the belt, and because he did a whole lot. So when you talk about it, it didn't really bring down it didn't really give me a low self-esteem at all. Okay, but what it did for me is trying to check me. Okay, it doing that helped me to check myself. And whenever I'm with friends, I tend not to do some certain kind of things that they do, because if I do them, my dad would find out and he would do what? He would beat me. Okay, so it never gave me any low self-esteem at all.
Thank you very much for your time. Moving to you.
Okay, well, growing up, my dad, he was quite mean. He used different he punished me using different mediums. He used the cane, he used the whip, he used the wire. Like, he was that strict, very strict. Now, I don't approve of his methods, but when I look at it from his perspective, he would say that he achieved what he was going for. I became disciplined. I did not do the things he would not approve of. But from my own perspective, I don't approve of those methods because they affected me. Maybe they did not lower my self-esteem, but it made it harder for me to trust him. Yeah, sure. Because now maybe I would do something very minor. It could even be maybe he's sleeping and then I just talk or I'm loud and then he flogs me over that minor mistake. Now imagine I commit a grave mistake. I can't confidently go to him to be sure that he would be very understanding and very tolerant. And aside that, it affected me on a psychological level because then I started indulging in self-harm. Whenever I felt bad about something, whenever I got bullied, I found myself cutting myself and doing all sort of stuff. And I mean, maybe I shouldn't blame him, but I feel like part of why I did that was stemmed in the way he brought me up. He treated me more like an animal than a human being. But anyway, the good thing of it is that having gone through that process, I don't see myself treating anyone like that. I mean, I teach, so I don't flog my kids, and I know that when I grow up to become a parent, I don't think I would treat my children that way.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Well, for me, my mom, I was a stubborn type.
Was or is?
Okay, yeah, is so my mom's how will I even put it? I'm always getting on her nerves. She beats me. Our shop is a stone throw from the house. Okay. So if I mess up, she'll start beating me from the shop down to the house. Then at the house is now finishing. But now, right now, I don't even approve of all that because for me, it's actually when people don't see that kind of thing, it reduces self-esteem, very, very well. But for me, I'm outspoken though, and maybe my stubbornness that still brought out my yeah. So, assuming I was kind of retarded, I would have been very shy and stuff like that. But for me, I will not advise or when I become a parent, I will not try and be like my mom, because my dad was actually the talking type, and when he talks to you, you kind of listen. That's just it. When he talks to me, if he will just look at me, just looking at me alone tells me, okay, yeah, I've done something bad, and it's my mommy that will do the rest. But him just talking and just did the rest for me. That's
All right. You said something about your mom beating you from the shop to the house. What if you had maybe people that like you or people that are in the area? Did it make you feel any type of way? Seeing this boy, they don't beat him again. What did you do this time around?
As I said, I am a stubborn type, so I grew used to it. Like, I grew used to it somehow. Yeah, that's just it. I grew used to it because it's the same place we are passing every day. So the people on the street will be like, it's them here. Okay, no need, Jerry, something like that. It was the first time, like, stop now, stop beating him now, and all those neighbors will be like, stop beating him now, man, be careful, this one down. But after some times, they just, the guy, they stubborn, Jerry, just leave him, that's all.
So it means you got used to beating.
Yeah, I got
crazy.
Right now.
Crazy.
Right.
Thank you for your time.
My name is Vilda Mrs. Popola Abiodun.
All right. I have a question. We want to compare disciplinary measures back then, you growing up, and how you discipline your children in this stage. Which do you think is better?
The old one is better.
Because
it's better.
Okay, give us reasons.
If you use it now, you will lose your children. You cannot use the method we have been disciplined then to now. This is my daughter. If you talk too much now, she will start to front her face. Mommy, no, you have seen it on her that she doesn't like. But then when your mom slap you, you still say yes, ma, and you obey. When your mom give you another slap, you say I'm grateful, ma. You say thank you after beating you. But this time around, you've not even beat, you just talk. When your voice is being raised, mommy, So, but then the parents' discipline method is better than now, because now maybe it's because of the age, the computer age. But that old method cannot be used now.
Okay, thank you. Feel if you follow your parents on an occasion and you misbehave and they yell at you on a public space, how does it make you feel?
I feel so bad because, like, my mom, when she's correcting me, she uses her eye, because I like that more than she spanking me or talking. Because my mom, she doesn't know how to put words. Like, she can say, "Are you okay?" Stuff like that. So I just comport myself. I won't say anything. But we get to know. I will say to mom. But I abuse me outside. I don't like it. But I like her using eye contact with me. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good to have you.
I won't say it's uneducational and I won't say it's not proper, but I would say it's normal, because scolding a child in public shows that you are actually correcting your child, of which I believe so many parents likes scolding their child in public, so that it will show as an example that this child is doing a wrong thing, but there should be a limit to scolding your child in public, so that people will not see it as if you are molesting the child.
Okay, so growing up, what disciplinary measures did you grow up with? How did your parents discipline you? How did they scold you?
On that aspect, I would say I have a very lovely family. From my father and my mom, they have been a very good parents to my upbringing. And it's not a bad experience, though. It's encouraging. Likewise, if every parent should have a parent of my type, I believe they will excel and grow beyond what every a successful child should go through. Unlike my father is a very strict type. He probably because he was once a uniform personnel, a police to be precise. He have this military and paramilitary training that he made us that he enforced on us to go through as a means of punishment to us, while my mother does not support that. He doesn't support it per se. It's not as if that the parents should not, that the father should not scold the child, but he should not go through the rigorous punishments.
What do you think about? Okay, let me paint a picture.
Okay.
You go out with a child, maybe your child, and the child is running up, and how do you correct that child? Do you spank or do you talk?
Come again.
You take a child out, and you know there are some children, they are hyperactive.
Yeah.
They don't stay in a place. You tell them sit down, they don't sit down, and eventually they destroy something. Let me say they fall a bottle or they just spoil something, and your temper is rising. How do you really
react?
Control? Yeah,
I would say the necessary reaction is to spank the child first. Secondly, you assess the damage of what the child just did, and you take control from there. But majorly you spank the child in the presence of the person that owns the property.
Don't you think it would be embarrassing for that person?
It is not embarrassing.